Y'all be nice. We can be out here in 20 minutes. As soon as I hang on here, I promise him he can go first because he's not here. Sometimes I like you now. I'm lucky to him, but you go first. I like you. Come on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to offer a amendment in the nature of a substitute, Senate Bill number 120.
Second.
Now, sir, before we get started, last week we had a problem and we asked y'all to work it out. So have you worked it out with all the stakeholders?
We feel like yes.
And they all happy?
As far as I know, I don't know if you can make everybody happy, but as
Yes,
far
sir.
as I know.
Okay.
yes.
Do we have a substitute?
We do. Should be hitting online.
The properly second, the proper move, second substitute be accepted. All of them saying aye. All right. Substitute, what it says? Somebody please tell me what the substitute says.
So what this does is this bill is to direct the Department of Energy to identify the volume, the number of waste coal piles. So it's a Section 1 bill that basically just asks for a study of the number of waste, the volume and the number of the waste coal piles. That's all it does. It's a study.
All right. Anyone here support of it?
If you were in the Zoom room and
If
was
you
just
are here
speaking
in support of it, that we had a thing last week, so you don't have to talk long because we fussed and fought about last week. Just tell me, give me your name, who you are, and your support of it.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Robert Kell with Appalachian Voices. We want to thank Senator Hackworth for his leadership on this issue. We support this bill. We would like to see it changed a little bit to include other studies around the other uses in reclamation of coal.
Bless your heart.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman, Bill Murray, Dominion Energy, and we support the substitute.
Anyone else in support? Anyone in the Zoom in support?
Mr. Chairman, we have a couple speakers on Zoom.
Are they in support?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, as far as I'm aware.
Yes, ma'am, please.
All right.
When the first do that, anyone here in opposition? Thank you so much. Yes, ma'am, let's go right ahead.
All right, Rebecca Shelton, please unmute and begin your testimony.
You have a minute and a half, my dear, a minute and a half.
I'm sorry, did you call Rebecca Shelton?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yes, my name is Rebecca Shelton. I'm from Appalachian Citizens Law Center, and we do support the intention of this bill, but we've already shared with bill sponsor some language changes that we'd like to see in order to ensure that the study fully assesses all types and impacts of remediation strategies for the waste coal. We just want to make sure that we're pursuing an investigation of strategies that are not only cost effective, but also result in cleaner, healthier places to live.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Next, please.
Mr. Chairman, that is our only speaker in support.
All right. The properly moved and seconded to be report as recommended as amended. All in favor, please call a roll, please.
Senator Norman. Aye. Senator Newman. Senator Lucas.
Aye.
Senator Marsden. Aye. Senator Spruill.
Aye.
Ayes 5, no
All
0.
right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Hanger, are you here? Yes. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I have Senate Bill 659 and 660. Both of those bills, as presented, were bills that would have directed some initiatives, one to basically to APCO and the other to the cooperatives as far as shared solar programs. We've had discussions beginning early last summer, and we thought at one point we'd come to a consensus, but we didn't. So we've collectively decided it would be best basically to direct a stakeholder group to continue work on this idea of shared solar in the APCO or Southwest Virginia. There's another small utility down there as well, and they've given us language that they're agreed to, and then the cooperatives have given us language that they've agreed to for these stakeholder groups. So it would be my intent, and I'm not sure whether staff here has the substitute or not, but I have copies of the substitute language.
Do we have substitute, the staff? We have a substitute?
Mr. Chair, it should be available online under
Oh,
SB
okay.
Oh, is it
659.
already online? Okay, and I
just
have
put it there.
copies there of what it would be. And what I would like to do, rather than having two bills, is roll Senate Bill 659 into 660 and have a substitute that directs the creation of these two work groups to work on possibilities for shared solar.
Do I have a motion to roll 659 to 660? Second, the proper movement seconded, we will roll 659 to 660. Call the roll, please.
Senator Norman. Senator Newman. Senator Lucas. Senator Marsden. Senator Sproul.
Thank you so
Five,
much.
no zero.
Yeah. All right, sir.
And with the language that you have in front of you there as the substitute, I believe we have complete agreement from the stakeholders. That's been represented to me from the Southwest Virginia and the APCO service region and from the cooperatives. That's the language you have. in
Those
front of you.
stakeholders, if you are in agreement, just wave your hand. Let me see, just wave your hand. Bless your heart, bless your heart. Thank you so much. All right, thank you so much. All right. We properly moving, second has been reported as recommended. All in favor, please call the roll.
Senator Norman. Senator Newman. Senator Lucas. Senator Marsden. Senator Sproul.
Thank you so
Ayes
much.
5, no zero.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mr.
sir.
Chairman, members
All
of
right.
the committee.
Mr. Evans?
There you go. All right, thank you so much. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee.
Mr. Evans, before you get started,
This is-
have this been worked out?
Yeah, it's been worked out between Dominion and the City of Alexandria, and I want to thank Bill Murray in particular for his help. It's about electric reliability reporting, Senate Bill 280. It's a Section 1 bill now, and it would just say that a Phase 2 electric utility, non-co-op, non-municipal, would provide local reliability data upon request within 45 days from a locality. We know that a reliable electric system is really important to our economy and thriving economies, and this supports providing transparency to the public on electric system reliability. We had a number of non-weather-related outages. There were some questions, and with this bill, people will be able to get answers that I think Dominion's able to provide in a format that works for them.
So with this bill, and we bypassed it last week, so those who had concern, they're all worked out.
I don't know of any opposition, no.
Okay, so those who had concern and they worked it out, please wave your hand. Praise the Lord. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right.
Mr. Chairman.
Anybody in opposition? Yes, sir.
Sorry. I just want to make sure. There's no one here that has concerns about this because I can't see the substitute.
All right.
I can see the original, but I can't see. Evan, can I?
The substitute, there you go.
No, that's the old one. That's
It's old.
It's old online now.
It's online. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Just to clarify, Senator Evans, this is just an agreement between City of Alexandria?
Well, it's Alexandria that's worked it out with Dominion, but it would allow others within their service area, if they wanted to request reliability data locally, to do so with the same framework.
Because the original bill talked about utilities, so this has nothing to do with APCO?
No, we left it just to the other service area.
Okay, thank you.
but, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir, please.
so is APCO out now? And
Yes.
it's all- Okay.
All right. Yes, sir.
What are they going to do with this information?
Well, they would like to because they're a monopoly, the utility, they'd like to know why the power is, what the outages are. Ms. Taylor from the City of Alexandria might be able to answer better than me about the use, but they would like to know, better understand and address outages, necessary investments to improve electric reliability, and understand how new investments are tied to the reliability of the system will help strengthen transparency and ensure reliability issues are being addressed.
Come forward, ma'am, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Sarah Taylor, City of Alexandria. This was inspired by something that happened in Alexandria. And basically what this does is it puts on paper what when we finally got the answers to our questions about what happened in the incidents in Alexandria, this was the information that was useful to us to say, okay, now we understand what happened, and now we can, figure out moving forward whether our conversations with you are going to, how they're going to be productive in the future. And so really this was just putting down the markers for what sort of reliability data are we looking for? What are you able to provide that is useful to us and is able to be provided? And then creating that nexus and that understanding of outages and reliability and investment in infrastructure. And so that's what's useful to us. And we think that, since it was useful to us, we're sure it's useful to other localities as they're dealing with non-weather related outages in their communities. We worked very closely with Dominion on this. I think we're in a piece in the valley.
Yes, sir.
How is Alexandria going to look at that material and think that they can impact what the investments are? Isn't this a bunch of bureaucratic foolishness?
This is information that's already required in large part for the federal government, but not in a form that we can get.
I understand the federal government. I'm just curious from Alexandria's standpoint.
Well, there was a lot of concern because during one of the largest annual events in the city, this festival, where we draw about 40, 50,000 people to one neighborhood, the power just went out and people couldn't understand why, wanted to know what happened. And it's public information. They have a right to know if it's happening regularly or repeatedly and what the data is. They're collecting the data already, but this would allow it to be digestible for a locality.
Mr. Murray, you have something to speak on that, please, sir?
Mr. Chairman, just with regard to an example of the type of information, the incident that the senator mentions, a switch had failed. The city is curious how old was the switch. It was only a couple years old. It was an unfortunate event. We don't like any power outage. This is helpful in our perspective because it's a uniform way of giving this information to localities rather than doing one-offs for each locality.
Thank you so much. Another question by the members committee? Anyone in opposition who are here? Anyone in the Zoom land need to speak?
If you are on the Zoom and wish to speak in regards to this bill, please raise your hand electronically now. Mr. Chairman, we have no speakers.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, before you take a motion, Mr. Stevens pointed out a clarifying amendment that just might make it more appropriate to make it clear that it's just to those within the service territory for, was it a Phase 1 utility? Is that how you described it?
Okay.
Phase 2, sir.
Phase 2, I'm sorry.
So, Mr. Chairman, Senator Evans, just on line 8, instead of upon request of a locality within the Commonwealth, it would say upon request of a locality within the service territory of a Phase 2 utility.
All right. Do we have a second? Do I have a second? Do I have a second? Second. Thank you so much. Call a roll, please. Do we need to call a roll on that? No, thank you so much. All right. The bill is before us as amended. Call a roll, please.
Senator Norman. No. Senator Newman. Sorry, Senator Newman.
He said aye.
Thank you. Senator Lucas. Senator Marsden. Aye. Senator Spruill.
Aye.
3 ayes, 1 no, 1 abstention.
Thank you so much, sir.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Bell, 347. Are you here, sir?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
All right. All right.
We have a substitute. If I could ask the committee to move that.
Has the substitute is online so we can see it? Do we all know about the substitute?
Mr. Chairman, it's being posted right now.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I can. We've worked very hard with the stakeholders here. Thanks to Dominion Energy, and also to Mr. Walton Shepard and Appalachian Power worked with this as well. I believe there's no opposition to the current version of this, and basically this is a program that you could view it as a pilot because we're going to try to find energy efficiency, and they're targeting people who have unusually high bills, and we're focusing on low income and disabled veterans. So a very limited population. And again, I want to thank Dominion Energy and my energy partners for working to define this. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to answer any questions, but to my knowledge, there's no known opposition.
Those who are in support of it that worked this out, please wave your hand. Bless your heart, bless your heart. Is anybody here in opposition? Any comments from the members of the committee? Anybody in Zoom land?
If you are in the Zoom room and wish to speak in regards to this bill, please raise your hand electronically now. Mr. Chairman, there are no speakers.
All right, we operate by motions. Second, call a roll, please.
Senator Norman. Senator Newman. Senator Lucas. Senator Marsden. Senator Sproul.
Aye.
Ayes 5, no 0.
Thank you. We
Mr.
got
Chairman.
one. Yes, sir. You're welcome, sir. We have one more. One more. Senator. Yeah. Senator Silverline.
Got
Now,
two
Senator
bills for
Silverline,
you.
I want you to know now, my two Democratic friends here, Senator Norman, and they told me to be sure to take care of you, so let's fix it up.
There you go.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first bill, Senate Bill 761. If you'd like me to start.
Yes, sir, please.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chairman, Senate Bill 761 seeks to protect customers by restoring some of the authority of the State Corporation Commission. The lack of regulatory oversight and a series of policies that favor the electric utilities are among the primary reasons why Virginia customers pay more for their electricity than customers in neighboring states, according to the U.S. Energy Information Administration. The State Corporation Commission has the expertise to review these things, but we continually take it away. Senate bill take away their authority to do so. Senate Bill 61 seeks to have them review any cost recovery approved under the VCA, so to make sure that they meet, one, that the cost must be necessary to ensure the reliability and meet RPS requirements, and two, that the cost must be the lowest cost option. It gives the State Corporation Commission the discretion on a case-by-case basis to determine if it's more appropriate to recover costs through base rates or through rate adjustment clauses. It's significant for us because the State Corporation Commission staff has suggested that the average annual cost to captive ratepayers in the Dominion service territory will increase by over $800 a year by 2030, in part because they're not being able to review these things. And as you look at what's been happening with RACs over the last 15 years, in my area of the Commonwealth, APCO has applied 10 of them over time, and they now make up 15% of our electric bills. And in the Dominion territory, they have added 27 RACs over that time that now make up 24% of the total cost of an electric bill paid by a Dominion customer. RACs were originally intended to be used to recover temporary and variable costs, such as increased fuel prices. I think that's what we all remember about a little more than a decade ago. But over the past decade and a half, Virginia utilities have used the RACs to recover all sorts of costs, including traditional generation capacity costs that normally would be recovered in base rates. And as this continues to happen, it continues to raise the electric bills substantially for Virginians. The base rates haven't really increased a whole lot, but the bills for Dominion customers have increased more than $26, and in APCO, they've accounted for more than a third of the $42 growth from 2007 to 2020.
Thank you, sir. Those who are in support, we come forward to speak, please. Those who are in support, we come forward to speak. Do we have anybody in the Zoom land in support?
If you're,
Just those who are in support right now, please.
if you are in the Zoom room and wish to speak in support of the bill, please raise your hand electronically now. Mr. Chairman, we have no speakers in support.
Thank you so much. Those who are in opposition, will you please come forward? Those in the room, those who are in opposition in the room, please come forward. We have 1, 2, I believe. Yes, sir. How you doing, my friend?
Mr. Chairman?
How you doing?
I'm fine, sir. I hope you are.
Yes, sir.
Good. Thank you. My name is John Watkins, and I'm here on behalf of Dominion Energy. We do oppose this piece of legislation. Back in 2007, when we went through re-regulation, this is one of the pieces that was put in to make sure that the timeliness of approval of certain projects could be brought in, and the State Corporation Commission would still have the opportunity to review each of these rate adjustment clauses before they were approved. And yes, we've had several But we have had these rate adjustment clauses because of the demands that have been put on the company with regard to the VCEA, with regard to new plants, and with regard to things like broadband, which take the form of a rack, if you would, in order to get them built in. If we had to wait every 3 years to get them into the base rate, then that would delay the amount of time for the implementation. Financing costs would go up, and those costs get passed on to the ratepayers. So we oppose this because we feel with the rate adjustment clauses and the ability of the State Corporation Commission to make those approvals, this makes a more timeless and more efficient utility.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, please.
Mr. Chairman, Ron Jefferson with Appalachian Power Company, and I associate my remarks to Dominion's and oppose the bill.
Thank you, sir. Comments from the members? Yes, sir. Wilson.
Question for Senator Line. The lowest cost, is that lowest cost of construction or lowest cost over the life of the project? What?
So it would be, we'd actually return that to review by the State Corporation Commission.
As to what lowest cost means?
Well, and what actually would be in the interest of, they would have to balance both what's in interest of the policies articulated in the Clean Economy Act and also the cost to the captive ratepayer.
Thank you.
Did not write the Clean Economy Act.
Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Chairman.
Mr. Newman? Yes, sir.
David, as you know, I generally like going back to the State Corporation Commission. One of the problems here is that we as a General Assembly have been mandating them to do a bunch of stuff, and we want them to do it pretty soon, and then they have to wait for the commission to catch up. I mean, to me, it'd be better if we pass these things, which I think we should not pass these requirements that increase cost, and I voted against most of them, as have you. But if we did that, we put it on a delay to where the money can catch up with it under the 3-year review. So that's not your fault, but it just seems to me that we have pushed this into a rack because we say go do it and go do it now because it feels good or we like doing it, and then we end up having to catch up with broadband, undergrounding, and all the other things. I guess, isn't that so?
No, I would disagree with the premise of that because I don't think that there's that many legislators. There's some that are coming up with these rate adjustment clauses, but I only recalled Senator Chafin once asking me to support a rack. Every other time it was the utilities themselves asking me to do it.
Well, Mr. Chairman, what I'm saying, David, is that we pass things that encourage them like broadband, and then they go and put it into a rack, and it doesn't go into the base rate instead. So I'm gonna vote in favor of it, David, because I like the idea of going back to the commission, but I think it's also incumbent upon us to think about this when we have other provisions that come forward, and it's pushed into a rack instead of being pushed into the base rate, based on timing.
Thank you so much, sir. Any other members? No comments? We operate by motions? Been properly moved and seconded. We the PBI the bill. Call the roll, please.
Senator Norman. Senator Newman. Senator Lucas. Senator Marsden. Senator Spruill.
Aye. Thank you so much, sir. Senate Bill 762, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So Senate Bill 762 seeks to allow Virginians to purchase 100% renewable energy from a licensed retail supplier or their utility. Currently, you can only purchase from your utility as long as they can hit the kill switch as soon as they offer a product. Doesn't even matter if it's a product that many people are interested in buying. In some places in the Commonwealth, it's pretty small numbers of folks. But that's enough that it kills off any competition and any real development of green energy in the market beyond what the electric monopolies themselves want. And so this seeks to allow that.
Thank you so much, sir. Anyone in the audience wants to support, please? Those who are in support, please.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Bob Shippey with Sierra
2 minutes
Club.
apiece, please.
Yes, sir. We support the bill. This really just turns the clock back a couple of years when this was true for consumers and small businesses in the Commonwealth. And we feel that choice for consumers and businesses is a good thing in Virginia. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Next, please.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Chris Lane with the Virginia League of Conservation Voters. We support this legislation and consistent with our past stance that we support consumer choice that expands 100% renewable options and increases the pace of adoption of clean energy for Virginians.
Thank you so much, sir. Anyone in Zoom is in support, please. Only in support.
If you are in the Zoom room and wish to speak in support of this legislation, please raise your hand electronically now. Mr. Chairman, there are no speakers.
Thank you. Do we have those in opposition? Would you please come forward, please?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, John Watkins with Dominion Energy again. We oppose this bill. This is deregulation in its basic form. We went through deregulation back in the late 90s, and then we went through re-regulation in 2007. And the reason we did is we put the option out there, and we had what was called a price to compare. And that price to compare looked at things like reliability, which this bill doesn't express itself in. And we found out that there were no prices to compare. So we went back in and re-regulated. I would also say to you that if you examine around the country, like Maryland was one of the states that went into deregulation and competition, if you would, they have subsequently changed their mind on that, and they're trying to move away from it. Some of the other states, even states like California, have now changed their direction with regard to quote-unquote competition because they realize that there's no appropriate way to regulate that competitive provider. The last thing I would mention is remember Texas, because Texas bragged about the fact that they had a completely deregulated market. They isolated themselves from all other providers around the country and all of the systems around the country and talked about their autonomy. Well, that's what got them in trouble last winter. And some of the bills that came in to some of the people, some of the providers, charged some of the consumers thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars over the top.
8 seconds, sir. Thank you so much. Bless your heart. Next, please.
Mr. Chairman, Ron Jefferson, Appalachia Power, and we oppose the bill.
Thank you, sir. Next, please.
Mr. Chairman, Andrew V. Horn with Virginia's Electric Co-ops. We share these concerns.
You share what concerns? For or against?
Against.
Bless your heart. Thank you. Anyone quite a minute, sir. Anyone in opposition?
If you are in the Zoom room and you wish to speak in opposition to this bill, please raise your hand electronically now. Mr. Chairman, there are no speakers.
Thank you. Senator Morrison.
Thank you. And I guess the question is for one of the utilities to answer. We have asked through the Virginia Clean Economy Act to create an enormous amount of green energy. I've heard 150,000 acres of solar. We're doing the offshore wind. And now with this bill, if we allowed that, here we're asking them to do all that, and then we're bringing in competition to their efforts to create green energy, and that we'd be selling it out of state to other folks. When we've asked them to make this kind of a commitment, it seems a little unfair, or am I missing something?
Mr. Chairman and Senator Marsden, one of the problems with this bill is what you find is that some of those providers who want to be quote-unquote competitive wind up buying most of their energy generation from outside of Virginia. We would like to keep as much of it as possible in Virginia, and that it's more reliable that way, and we know the people who we're dealing with that way.
Okay.
I hope that answered your question.
Yeah. But in this sense, you know, we're asking you to create green energy through the Clean Economy Act, and then we're offshoring the need in Virginia and allowing people to buy it elsewhere. And does that seem fundamentally contradictory to what we're trying to accomplish in the Clean Economy Act right here in the state?
I think in the consumer's mind, it is contradictory, because he or she thinks that they're buying quote-unquote clean energy, and it's not necessarily so when you look at the pure definition of what is called clean energy or renewable energy that some of these providers bring and try to sell in Virginia.
Thank you.
Question from the committee? Question from the committee? All minds clear? Ready for a motion?
Move to pass it by indefinitely.
Call the roll, please.
Senator Norman. Senator Newman. Senator Lucas. Senator Marsden. Senator Sproul.
Aye.
That's 5, no 0.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Well, that's it. Mr. Pete, I want you to know I went 8 minutes over. I apologize.
You owe us.
Me adjourned. Thank you all so much.
The Labor and Employment Subcommittee will begin in about 5 minutes.